What's going on, Dream Chasers? I'm so excited to be back again for another week, having a conversation with you that's just going to help you to learn, grow, and connect with the right people. You know, this is the place where your money-making ideas and your hopes are always elevated to the next level because we know that our dreams are possible. So today, I want to talk about money. Somebody say money. That's right. You might say money. You might say cash. You might say fettuccine. I don't know how you call money capital. We're going to talk about money today because it's so essential as we are growing our dreams. You know, we have a dream. We have this idea. We maybe have something already going and we want to take it to the next level. But the reality is that just like the old adage says, it takes money to make money. And so the question is, where do you get the money when you have a dream, but you don't have the resources? I was reminded when I had, it was maybe a few years after graduating college. I went to Fresno State, go Dogs, and I majored in business. I learned how to make business plans and marketing and all that kind of great stuff. And so after I got married in 2006. And as a bride, of course, you get hooked on those wedding shows on WE Network. And I saw how much wedding planners were getting paid. I was like, wait, hold on. Hold the phone. You tell me that this woman got paid $10,000 to plan somebody's wedding, and I'm up here doing it for free? Time out. Sign me up. So I always encourage people when they say like, oh, I want to do something, I'm not sure what to do. I always say, hey, what are you passionate about? And so for me, back in those days, I was super passionate about events and event design and being a bride. I was like, you know what? I think I want to go after my dream of being a wedding planner. Now, knowing all of the things of how to start a business from being trained in business school, all that kind of stuff, I did my little business plan. I made my startup budget and I'm like, wait, hold on. I don't have no money. Y'all don't understand. I had just graduated from college. Still, I was working, but I didn't have no extra money to really do the most. And so what I did, I applied for an SBA loan. Do you know that these people gave me $12,000? Like, I literally couldn't believe it. Like, they gave me $12,000. Like, oh my gosh. And so I was able to use those funds to establish my company, grow my team, and really become one of the highly, highly sought after event wedding planners in the Central Valley. So yes. So, but I say that story because I know that that's not everyone's story. Some people, they have a dream and they don't have access to the funding. They can't ask family members. It's just not possible. So the question is, where do you go? What do you do when it's time to get the money to expand your dream? And so I'm really excited about today's guest. I have with us Daniel Fernandez. He is the CEO of TMC Community Capital, and they are a nonprofit online micro lender serving under-resourced California small businesses. And I'm trying to think, I first came across them during the pandemic, I think it was. And actually, I was awarded a grant from them. And so that's how I first got in contact with them, and then just learned more about their organization and how they really lower those barriers to get access to funding to help under-resourced business owners like ourselves. And so I was like, you know what? One, they're a sponsor of the Dream Chaser Conference, and then they're doing amazing things. I have to have Daniel on the podcast. So podcast listeners, can you just welcome Mr. Daniel Fernandez? Hey, Daniel, how are you doing?
I'm doing really well, Jennifer. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it is a pleasure. It is a pleasure. I have a feeling like this conversation is going to be so soaked in knowledge, and people are going to leave just having a greater awareness of what is out there. And so that's really what this podcast is all about, spreading awareness so people are equipped to chase and pursue their dreams. So Daniel, tell us how do you love, what do you love most about working and leading TMC?
Oh, wow. What a question. A great one. First and foremost, I think title community capital, right? I think there's a strong emphasis on who we're building for and what this organization represents. And so when we think about all the existing lending landscape and all the players that are out there, I was really, really, really impressed with how this organization was building for those true early stage businesses, asking some real fundamental questions around what matters most to a business owner when they're seeking growth. And all of that comes through my team.
Gotcha.
Our staff is super passionate about the communities that we work in, and we're throughout the state. So, whether that's in the Bay Area, I'm from East San Jose. We have team members who are from, Long Beach, California, Royal Heights. We've all kind of visited and have roots in the Central Valley. So understanding like those nuances, and then and also understanding how traditional lending works and how alternative lending works, and the uprising of like technology, and saying, why hasn't anyone like put it all together in a way that there's, financial tech firms that are disrupting consumer lending and small business lending? Why haven't we done that in the nonprofit space? Why haven't we done that as a CDFI for really, really small businesses? Because if you're trying to pursue your dreams, like you said, your case was, almost textbook in that you had the business degree, you had the plan, you knew exactly where to go with respect to the SBA, and you had a lot of those boxes checked. But not everyone does. And some people have, a dollar and a dream minus the dollar, and they're just move forward. And so like, what do you do? And so coming from a family of bootstrappers, it was, I think really, really powerful to be able to be a part of an organization that not only wants to disrupt, but ask some, difficult questions, and then there you go, present some solutions.
There you go. I love it. I love it. Now, do you have in mind, this is maybe I should have asked you beforehand, like how much have you guys funded, whether it's through the existence on an annual basis, average, like how much are you guys getting small business owners access to?
Yeah, so currently, we're a relatively new fund, right? We're founded in 2018. Our first full year of lending post-pandemic was last year. As you mentioned, you were a recipient of a grant from us, and that was much of the business through the pandemic, where we really shifted to the small business lending piece. And so, up and I'd say year to date now, we're approaching the $3.5 million mark.
Wow.
You got to keep in mind that's a lot of loans, because our average loan size is about $20,000, and so our program spans from as low as 5, as high as 50. We're really trying to take the time to meet as many of those micro entrepreneurs as possible, and so it's really an exercise in doing a lot of little loans, because we believe that a little bit of capital and a lot of good advice is really the pathway forward for those early growth stage businesses.
I 100% believe that too. I know a lot of times when I talk with entrepreneurs, they're aspiring entrepreneurs, they always talk about how money, like, I don't have the money. You really don't need a whole lot at the end of the day. Especially now we have technology. There's so many ways to leverage software, obviously social media, and just depending on what type of business you're starting. I always tell people like, hey, lowest hanging fruit, like, do what you can with what you have, and then you can grow from there. Now, you made a good point in terms of traditional lending versus how you guys operate. Can you tell us like some differences specifically that set you guys apart from traditional lending?
Yeah, just from a cash flow standpoint, or just a criteria based, right? Right. Everyone talks about the 5 C's of credit and all of that. And we've really tried to redefine how we look at that, right? So in addition to, cash flow and character and credit and conditions and, all of those traditional items, we've added 2 that we hold really dear to the way that we're building. And one of them is culture. The other one is community, and on the spot I'll create another one that is common.
Hey, I love it. Culture, community, and common sense.
Because there's a lot of times where a deal might just make sense, but it doesn't translate to the financials. So how do you fill in those gaps, right? And so for us, it's a couple of things. We only require 1 year in business. right?
Okay.
And what we mean by in business is established, that you're showing some type of revenue. So whether that's out of the trunk of your car, on the
Yeah.
internet, you're trying to put it together,
Listen.
whether you got receipts or ledger,
Listen.
bring it to us. Let us figure it out.
I love it.
The next piece of it is that while we evaluate credit via those items I mentioned previously, culture and culture and community, there's no minimum FICO score for us. So there's no disqualification based on a number
Wow.
that is attached to your credit report. That's really huge when we think about opening our services up to as many people as possible.
That's awesome.
And
That's
then
awesome.
the third one I would say is something that I really hope to be a model and a proxy for as we continue to grow and do more of these loans, is that we actually have a system through our technology that helps us to use data to allot for cash-based income.
Okay.
So a lot of times you hear businesses, well, I make a lot of money, but it doesn't make it to my tax.
Yeah.
And because I don't want to pay taxes, and hey, we hear you, we understand that.
Right.
We want to get you away from that as soon as possible, but let's also acknowledge that sometimes you need money now, and maybe you don't have all of the understanding and resources to understand why that might not be a benefit to you. So what do we know about different types of businesses, around their average expenses, around their average gross revenues, about how much cash makes it into these type of businesses that they have on hand, and how can we factor that also into a decision for the financial that they do have? Anything that we can do to help get a yes is really our defining factor at the end of the day.
Oh my goodness. I just hear opportunity. I hear opportunity. I hear no excuses. I hear, you guys are committed to working with anybody that's, really committed to their dream at the end of the day. And then you guys are backed by resource and also data that also helps them win. That's amazing. That really, really is. And that's really why I wanted my community to know about you guys and to know what you offer and how, there is access to capital that can happen. And, you don't need a whole lot to start, depending on the type of business that you're in, and that there are other people who are literally rooting for you. So again, I'm just excited for the guests at the conference to meet you guys in person. And then for anyone listening to go to their website and just learn more about what TMC is doing. So can you maybe tell me just an inspiring story? This might be a success story from a small business owner that came to you guys and they said, hey, this is the dream, I need this, and they were able to go execute. Paint that picture for us in terms of some of your success stories.
I appreciate the opportunity, Jennifer, and so many come to mind, right? But I actually have to kind of back pedal a little bit and reframe it in that for me, what we do is pretty simple, right? It's lending. And what makes us kind of cool and contrarian is our how. But really what drives it for us is our why. And I think everyone on our team has a really powerful why. And since I'm here with you today, I guess I can share a little bit about mine, because I think it's really it's one of the success stories that have allowed me to be here with you today. And I think it translates really well to the people that we serve. So I'm called back to my grandmother. 5 a.m. every morning since I can remember, waking up to load her van to sell food and clothes at the Berryessa swap meet in East San Jose. And she would have never called herself an entrepreneur, but she was Monday through Friday. And she raised 10 kids, 50 something grandkids.
Wow.
And she did it all without access to capital.
Yeah.
But she talks about how hard it was, about the money that she had to borrow from friends and family for inventory, to remodel her house, to be able to sell to basically treat her front door as a storefront for kids getting out of school, and she could sell food and candy and whatnot, and just a hustler by every definition of the word. But informed a lot of, I think, how I think about this business, right? That's a full-fledged business over decades that grew and sustained and, didn't operate the way that they tell us to operate, right?
Right.
As these bank closures happened, I was reminded of a joke that she told me, and she wasn't even telling me a joke. I just found it hilarious. And
Mm-hmm.
you hear a lot about coaching businesses to not keep that money in the mattress, right? And so for my grandmother, it wasn't necessarily in a mattress; it was in a shoebox or several
Okay.
years, right?
Shoebox or a
And
jar. Mm-hmm.
and so one day we're moving stuff for my grandmother, and we notice all the money, and next to the money there's a small 22 pistol. And we're like, whoa, like grandma's wilding out. Like in Spanish, grandma, what's the gun for?
Mm-hmm.
Without missing a beat, and in perfect English, because we were convinced she didn't even speak English, she tells us FDIC insurance. Meaning she was
Boom.
protecting her money. She was like,
Boom.
good. And so there's an understanding, right, around this economy and how it's supposed to work. But for her, she was like, no, this is me. This is how my financial structure is set up, and it's how I'm building. And
Gotcha.
so understanding that like success is defined by the individual.
Correct. Yep.
And not everyone is cookie cutter, and not everyone is going to have the checklist of items that the big banks or even the SBA require.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, what are those cultural competencies that we can come to the table with?
Yeah.
Build in reverse, right? What do you do for the person that has that mentality of like, it's not going into the bank, right? But 10K could be a game changer as it relates to my inventory. 20K to purchase a new van could
absolutely
pop up at new locations outside of the Berryessa swap meet, right? And
absolutely.
So, I think really taking that approach has helped us really have a pretty wide swath of different borrowers that allow for success stories, from everything from daycare centers to your pop-up restaurants, to your brick and mortars, to your service-based businesses. There's not a whole lot that we're saying no to. And it's like we've opened the floodgates, and everyone is, taking advantage of this, opportunity to think about capital differently. It's more of an engagement of like, what are the moving pieces? How do we solidify some of that? And can we all be better for having gone through an organic experience as it relates to deploying capital? Because we truly believe that once you're kind of in our ecosystem, we're your partner. Right.
Okay.
Like, you get in with us for a $5,000 loan, and it's just maybe to build some credit or handle a small need that you have. Well, maybe we did that off of like stated information and your cash receipts, right? But we say, hey, your business is growing, and there's probably a lot that you could do if we formalize some of this, if we put you in an account. So now say, hey, if you're willing to go through this coursework to get into a business bank account, there's actually $15,000 that's eligible, that you're eligible.
Wow.
Right? And so you've like incentivized the formalization of a business, and it's not something that kind of lives out in the ether, but it's like, oh, I can do that. And
I can do it.
So there's an immediate reward for meeting those requirements. And the same thing for tax returns. Then you're having the next growth conversation around, if we can do this, now we're talking 50,000. And it's like, okay, now I gotta, formalize my LLC and get my taxes in order, and just think about my finances in a way that solidify my business. It's meant to really lean into that common sense that I mentioned, to make all of this make sense for everyone, but also like attainable and really accessible.
And really what I'm hearing from the entire conversation is that you get it, that you guys get it, that everyone is not coming to the table from, obviously some kind of like Harvard background, understanding business and all. Like, people just trying to make it. Right. I'm always asked the question, so Black women are the fastest growing demographic of entrepreneurs. And people always ask, like, why is that? It's like, we gotta be. We need extra money. Many of us are, the sole provider of our households. And then also because we're creative and we have ideas and we want to see those things come into fruition. And so a lot of people start business out of want A lot of us are stirring them out of need. And that I also want to highlight also those who are formerly incarcerated, where, they can't just go get a job like that, but they have skills, they got hustle, they got all that other stuff. And it's like, they need, they need to be shown also a better way that you can do this and not even have to be in trouble with the law. So at the end of the day, I love the fact that you guys have that community component in there. You guys understand the culture. And then, like you said, it's just common sense. Like, does this make sense? Mm-hmm. And you guys are helping a lot of people. And so that's exactly why I wanted to have you guys as a partner with us for the Dream Chaser Conference, because I just know that many more dreams can be realized with the support that you guys offer. So I just want to thank you so much, Daniel, for being on the podcast today. Can you tell us where we can reach out to learn more about your programs and all of what you have to offer in terms of the loan processes?
Yeah, absolutely. And first and foremost, thank you, Jennifer. This has been amazing. And I would just dream chasers. I love that. Just as a concept, as like an anchoring statement, like that's who we're looking to serve, right? We're trying to help people that are, willing to chase their dreams and put in the work. And I commend you for all of what you've done and having me for today's conversation. That said, you can find us at TMCCommunityCapital.org. And honestly, everything that you need is there. We are trying to build something that is, easy to engage with. So you go through our website. If you decide that you'd like to apply for a loan, the link to apply is right there. We hope it's a speedy process for you. We're averaging currently to closing between, 5 to 15 days, depending on the size of the loan and the complexity. But really are working diligently to build even more efficiencies into our process to get that down to 1 week. So we're hoping within the next year we can have even a faster process for our dream chasers that are looking to get access to capital.
I love it. Thank you so much, Daniel, for being on the podcast today. Thank you for the work that you do to serve others. And I'm just excited about what is to come. If I can ever be a support or resource, just know that I am always available. And I just want to thank you again for being on today.
Oh, likewise. Thanks a ton.
All right, Dream Chasers, you heard it. So there is no excuse as it comes to the finances that you need to grow that dream. You might be saying, hey, I really need a new website. I really want to launch this new product. I really want to expand into new territory. So where there is a will, there is a way. And our friends at TMC Community Capital are here to partner with you. So I hope that you enjoyed this podcast and that you would actually share this with someone. There was so much information shared today, and it was such an inspirational podcast as well. And so I want you to share it with somebody. Send it to a friend, send it to a colleague, send it to a family member, someone that you know can benefit for this. All right, Dream Chasers, we are out. I will see you guys again next week. So excited to be your host. I'm just always filled with all the warm fuzzies every time after we end the podcast, because I know by you listening to this, you are that much more dedicated to pushing forward and not letting go of your dreams. All right, Dream Chasers, I'll see you next time. Peace out.